Ms. Crockett.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I am going to try to get through a lot quickly. As one of the few people sitting on the dais who actually practice criminal law in the state of Texas, as well as licensed in Arkansas and practice there, as well as federal courts, one of the things that you said earlier, Mr. Beer, really stuck with me, is that there are already laws on the books as it relates to those violent criminals. And I know this because even though I hail from the great city of Dallas, I can tell you that when someone would come in and they were being held in custody for, say, a crime, they also had an ICE hold, okay? And that was for those that had maybe been deported before and had re-entered illegally and things like that. And so no matter what type of city you're in, I do want to be clear, federal law already, no matter if it's under the Biden administration or if it's under a Republican administration, we all agree that we want to be safe. And I think that's the first premise that we're losing, because there isn't something that is tatted on my head that says that I'm a Democrat and therefore you illegal bad person, don't come for me, go for the ones that have the R's on their forehead. Now let me be clear about this as well, because we've talked about crime and we've talked about fentanyl specifically, and this is also something that I have dealt with, unlike some of my other colleagues. And listen, I'm gonna be honest, because I actually want to fix problems. And I actually have a really good senator in Texas, and I'm sure y'all can guess which one is the good one. But let me tell you, if we care about fentanyl, I have multiple bills for that. I started on the state level before everybody started talking about it, and I have federal bills that my senior senator has signed on to. So I welcome my colleagues because I actually want to make sure that my communities are safe. But as we start to talk about crime and statistics, Mr. Beer, I want to play a little game with you. It's called rhetoric versus reality. And so I want to ask you, my first question, is this rhetoric or reality? Immigrants commit more crimes than US citizens.
On a per capita basis?
Rhetoric or reality?
Oh, it is rhetoric.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to enter into the record this article, which states that undocumented immigrant offending rate lower than US-born citizen rate, and this is from nij.ojp.gov.
Without objection.
Thank you so much. The next one, immigrants are just living off the federal government and contribute nothing.
That would be rhetoric.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Chair, I would ask unanimous consent to enter study that says undocumented immigrants pay almost $100 billion in taxes. This is from the Alabama Reflector.
Without objection.
Thank you so much. My final rhetoric or reality question is immigrants only enter at the southern border.
Rhetoric.
Okay, right, because they enter all kinds of ways. I just wanted to make sure that I put that out there. In fact, I have a few more questions because I still got a little bit of time, which I usually run out of time. We have talked again about crime, and there's been this overemphasis on it. And honestly, I can tell you that I don't want anyone to be killed, whether it's here or anywhere else. There is nothing about me as the child of a preacher that makes me say that I want people to die, okay? So I feel as if my colleagues from across the aisle have decided that they are going to make immigrants the boogeyman. It's insanity to me, but they also are showing compassion for victims, which they should, but they have no compassion for people that are contributing to making us great in this country. So interestingly enough, I'm curious to know, Mr. Beer, if you know if immigrants contributed to these particular crimes. There was a mass shooting in Buffalo, New York that killed a number of African Americans as they were trying to shop for groceries. Was the defendant an immigrant in that case? Do you know?
No, he was a US-born citizen.
Thank you so much. Charleston, South Carolina, there were black churchgoers trying to praise the Lord. They were killed. Was that an immigrant that perpetrated that or not?
No, that was a US-born citizen.
Thank you so much. Now coming home to Texas, there was an El Paso shooting. Do you know if that was an immigrant or not?
No, they were targeting immigrants in that case.
In fact, each of these cases, it was white supremacists. And so the last unanimous consent that I'd asked for is this article that states that white supremacists behind over 80% of extremism-related U.S. murders in 2022.
Without objection.
Thank you so much.
Gentlelady's time has expired. Mr. Grothman.
Thank you. Eventually, some sort of immigration bill is going to be passed this Congress. We're trying to look for some common ground. Mr. Beer, we've talked about this before. In the past, I've introduced something called the Safeguarding Benefits for Americans Act, which prevents non-citizens from receiving what we'll normally refer to as welfare benefits. I just want to confirm that you think that would be a good idea, probably improving the quality of immigrants we have coming here.
Absolutely. Immigrants should be self-sufficient when they come to the United States.
Very good. Well, there's maybe something we can receive bipartisan support for when we move an immigration bill. Next thing I'd like to point out, and Mr. Moore's always handled this to a degree, I want to point out that in the 14th Amendment, it does not say all persons born in the United States become citizens of the United States. It's all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That amendment was passed coming out of the Civil War. There's a reason it was passed coming out of the Civil War. Congress was afraid that the Democrats would try to undermine the results of that war by forbidding former slaves from voting. And clearly that's what the amendment was supposed to deal with. It did not include anybody who just happened to show up here and have a baby and moved on. Any congressman at that time, as can be seen from the debate on the floor at that time, no congressman felt that resulted in what we are now referring to as birthright citizenship. It was supposed to be limited to slaves. You did not have you were not subject to the jurisdiction, or you were only subject to the jurisdiction thereof if you were a former slave. A person who came here from France and was just passing through, their child would not become a citizen. That should be obvious. Now, we want to get on to a few more questions. I'm going to ask these of Ms. Vaughn. When a child arrives at the board, okay, one of the heartbreaking stories you sometimes hear in this country is parents get divorced, one parent grabs the child and flees to somewhere like Pakistan or somewhere. The other parent is here in the United States and they can't get that child back. In other words, it results in a broken family, which is just horrible. And I do think we have to do all we can to keep families together. In this country, under the Biden administration before that, if a child shows up with one parent and they come in this country, is any effort made to see whether the local courts, say the child comes here from Guatemala, Cuba, wherever, that the local court has said that they want the parents separate, or do we just assume that the other parent would be okay with this and not seeing his child again?
Well, if you're referring to cases in which the child is seeking an order of protection from, say, a state family court, is that the scenario?
Well, let's say there's a divorce.
Or at the border itself? At the border, families who arrive, or an adult who arrives with a child is not detained.
Right. Do you think there should be? Do you think that we should do something to make sure that we don't have a situation like I described, where one parent takes a child to Pakistan and they're gone? I mean, again, if a parent shows up at the southern, one parent with a child, we don't know where the other parent is. We don't know whether that parent is, the parent who shows up is fleeing the other parent, trying to raise that child without a parent. Is that of concern to you?
Well, it is, because our state family courts are not in a position to evaluate those claims made if the alien child, for example, is seeking a special immigrant juvenile visa, seeking to stay here permanently. There's just no way. They're not held to the same standards of evidence that, say, an American kid would have to receive an order of protection. So this
Right,
leads
right.
to abuse.
You think it'd be a good idea when we pass our immigration law if we said that if a child is here with one parent, we have to make sure legally somehow that the other parent is okay with that, or it's in accordance with the local courts, and like I said, Guatemala, Cuba, wherever, that the local courts have said it's okay that we're permanently breaking up the family, which I think should happen very rarely.
Yeah, that's a tough thing for the American legal system to deal with, something that happened, a separation that occurred in the home country.
Well, we wouldn't have to
Gen-
deal with the
gentle-
system if we
gentleman's
insisted having
time
both
has
parents here in the
expired.
first place.